Hello everyone, this is Logan, and today I'm going to be showing you what iOS 7 looks like on the Apple iPad. First of all, if you haven't seen my two videos having to do with iOS 7 already, that I uploaded yesterday and actually filmed the day before, if you haven't seen those videos, I suggest you watch those first, because they go a considerably more in-depth into iOS 7 than I will go into in this video, because this is just going to show you how all the features look on the bigger screen and how they take advantage, I really hope I'm doing the air quotes right, but probably not, of the larger real estate. So let's power this thing on. And something I neglected to show you is, not only is the Apple logo bigger on the iPad, but also it's flatter, and that's something that, of course, transfers over to all models of iPhone that support the iOS 7, and, of course, the iPads, including the Mini and the iPod Touches and all of that. And also, to prove this is an iPad 4, I don't remember if I mentioned that or not, but we have the 8-pin lightning connector. If this was a 3rd-generation iPad or a 2nd-generation iPad, it would, or 1st generation for that matter, this would be a 30-pin dock connector. And of course, you can't tell this at home, but this thing weighs a ton. Alright, so as you can see, it powered on. It actually powered on rather quickly. So, here is the device. Here's the aesthetic look in a nutshell. As you can see, it looks very similar to how it looks on the iPhone. You would expect that, considering both devices are rather similar. So, first of all, let's take a look at Control Center, alright? So, as you can see, looks pretty good, and even looks pretty good in landscape. Alright, you know, to be fair, it's just spread out a bit, but, you know, we can live with that. There's not much more you can do. And you know how Control Center works. If you don't watch my previous video, I'm not going to go into depth in it here, but here's what the Notification Center looks like. As you can see, not quite as good. Also, something else I feel I should mention. You notice how I had to, when I had this in portrait mode, and I brought up Control Center, I had to take it down, put the iPad into landscape, and then bring it back up. That's going to be a theme that runs within iOS 7 on the iPad. So, okay, let's say, you know, I'm just going to prove to you guys, I don't have the rotation lock on this iPad turned on, as you can see, turned off. I can do all of this with the greatest of ease. Now, anyway, so let's bring up Control Center. Now I'm going to try and do that again. Oops, sorry, I can't do it. That's because, as I said before, you have to bring it down, turn the iPad sideways, and then bring it back up, which is annoying. I don't get why they didn't. I don't get why they can't just reformat it automatically, and why you have to manually reformat it. Also, another thing I figured I should note, just because I don't have an iPhone that's running iOS 7, trust me, my mom's not that mental. I guess she's mental enough to install it on her iPad, I guess. But the signal strength thing is a bit different, and I don't know, it looks a bit nicer, actually. In my opinion, it shows you how your signal strength is by a series of dots as opposed to a series of lines. Now, anyway, let's go back to Notification Center real quick. So, as you can see, it looks the same. And that's the problem. It looks just a whole lot of the same. That, you know, yeah. So, and also the same syndrome applies. You can't put it into portrait unless you turn the phone or the iPad around and then bring it down. And this is what I would have done. This is the main problem with it, in landscape, at least. Because in portrait, they actually kind of, you know, it kind of works a bit better. It doesn't take advantage of the real estate. So that means we have this huge area that's not being used for anything, and this huge area, which also isn't being used for anything. So that means you have this huge, open space. Why, Apple? Why couldn't we make some kind of use? Now, as I said, in Portrait, they kind of rectified this. And, kind of gave it, kind of did take advantage a bit of the real estate. By, you can see more notifications on the screen at a time, and, everything is a bit better formatted. But it should be better formatted in landscape, too. Now, I would have done one of two things, or three things, actually. Something just occurred to me that I could have done. One, I would have made, the notification area a bit bigger. Like, for example, if a text came that was 2 lines, I can't really show it. Oh! No, I can't. If a text came that was like 2 lines or something like that, I would have all of that. See, actually, there we go. If a notification came that was like 2 lines or 3 lines or whatever, I would have had, that take up the entire screen. I would have also accepted if you would have just made the text bigger. And a third thing I would have accepted, and something I really would have liked, is if you didn't have to swipe to get the notification center. I would have liked it on the iPad to all be in one place. And you could have, you would have made the text a bit smaller, but, it still would have all been in one place, and it still would have, worked a bit better. So, let's bring that into Portrait again, and, it kind of works, because, you can see more notifications on the screen at a time, but it's just, yeah. And I guess in Portrait, there probably wouldn't be enough room to have it all in one place, but, maybe just in landscape. I could have lived with that. Now let's unlock the thing. And, obviously, same things apply. You can't, bring it around. But, something that I was surprised that you could do is flip the iPad on its side in Spotlight Search. That actually seems to work pretty well. Just as well as it should, honestly. And another thing that doesn't take advantage of the real estate. Siri. What's your name?
Siri, pleased to meet you.
Alright, so let's actually do a few more things so you can kind of get a better idea. What is the weather in London, England?
Okay, here's the weather for London, England between today and Wednesday.
What is the time in Tokyo, Japan?
In Tokyo, Japan, it's 5:01 a.m.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
But the cat will get out.
Alright, so this should probably give you a pretty good idea. This has the same problem Notification Center had, in where it had this huge space, didn't do anything. This huge space, didn't do anything. And yet it brought it up to full screen. Now, to be fair, it wasn't in full screen originally, but, that actually even furthers my point. If you're gonna make it, you either A, have it in a window like it used to be, like, Siri used to be, like this little bit, maybe about here once you've used it a bit more, and, just that. And, Notification Center was just, maybe here to here. But now, these are both full screen, but you may as well just have them in a window because they aren't doing anything with that. Except maybe Notification Center, because, you can see a few more notifications than you could, but still, come on, Apple. And while I'm here, I may as well show you what some of the things look like on a bigger screen. Here is calendar. It looks pretty similar. Also, I did neglect to show you a bit, kind of what it looked like. There, that's what it is. I kind of neglected to show you what it was like in the video. Also, something else I wasn't able to show you, and this actually seems to work, the the motion thing actually kind of works here. Actually, let's go into settings, see if I can show it to you with a different wallpaper. I don't know if I can, yeah. Also, speaking of wallpaper, just ignore the weird wallpaper that my mom has. I just learned to live with it at this point, so I hope that you do too. As you can see, works pretty well, and let's even try with another wallpaper. Actually, this one should make a pretty big difference. Yeah, you can probably see that a bit. If you look really closely, you can see how everything works. I can see it a bit better to naked eye, but you know, I'm trying to hold this huge device and also try and manage a camera that's also a bit bigger than a camera should be, but also a bit thinner than a camera should be. So yeah, you get the basic idea. Safari works the same. I don't recall. Does it do the full screen mode properly? Actually, I better point the camera away because this is somebody's Facebook. And I don't think they want to... Here we go. Here's YouTube in a separate browser. Okay, so iPad doesn't do the full screen YouTube thing, which sucks. Why could it not do that? I don't get that at all. Hey, but at least it's translucent. I don't care. But, yeah, so you get the idea there. You can also, you know... Actually, no, here's another thing. This is the new home screen for Safari. So, you know, you can go to Wikipedia now. There's a few more options than in the iPod version, but I don't know if some of these might just be extra settings. Come on. Go back. Back. No. Okay, whatever. You get the idea there. So, that's Safari. Photos, pretty much the same, just blown up a bit. Email, pretty much the same, just blown up a bit. Music, pretty much the same, just blown up a bit and has a flatter UI like the rest of the operating system. Now, camera. Here is something that I feel is maybe worth a bit mentioning, and maybe this and another thing I'm going to end on. The camera actually does kind of take advantage of the iPad screen. And to be fair, it always did, but this is what I'm talking about. So this and Control Center, you kind of got a bit closer to right, Apple. You kind of hit a bit closer to home there. So, I mean, you know, let's just go into the front-facing camera. As you can see, that's what the camera looks like. Here is the video mode, all of that. Sorry, I'm trying to, you know, manage 2 cameras at a time. Also notice, you can't actually do the zoom in thing, with the camera. Sorry, I have to, again, I apologize, this video is probably going to be mostly me apologizing. I apologize for having the iPad go out of shot and having weird camera work. I'm just trying to manage 2 oversized devices. Well, the iPod isn't too oversized, but you get what I mean. So, photos, you get the idea. The Instagram mode, or the square mode as Apple calls it, that's pretty much the same, but you get what I mean. Oh, I was wondering why it did that. I forgot that I had the multitasking gestures on. Which, by the way, work pretty well, but except for the multitasking thing, which actually now doesn't seem to be working at all. Now it works. And, you know, there's nothing functionally wrong with this, except for the fact that it feels a bit awkward. You know, doing it in this new card format, and, you know, still keeping the multitasking gestures. But still, all the same, we've had these and actually, something I should mention about the new iPad, they need to get rid of the home button. Just, you know, you've had these multitasking gestures for, you know, I think something like 3 years at this point, and you still haven't gotten rid of the home button. So, you know, I mean, you know, given, I guess, the multitasking gestures could be improved a bit. I mean, you know, most people wouldn't want to close an app like this every time, or, you know, switch apps like this all the time, and, you know, go into the multitasking, which doesn't even seem to work very well now that we have Control Center. But you get the idea. And one last app I want to show off is Photo Booth. Photo Booth is where the photo filters went. Because, you know, even though it doesn't technically have the photo filters, it's still kind of, you know, this is kind of what they replaced it with. So as you can see, let's switch to the front-facing camera. Pretty please. There we go. So here's the front-facing camera, works pretty well. Let's just get out of that. You know, you can see here stretch. Looks weird and, you know, all of these look, you know, a bit trippy. There's the X-ray vision. There's thermal, which looks like, oh look, I'm looking at through the eyes of the predator. But, yeah. So you get the idea. It's, you know, that wasn't the main point of this video. The main point wasn't to show off features. The main point was just to show you how everything transferred, and the answer is not very well. I mean, you know, newsstand, that actually transferred okay, because, you know, also I just realized you swipe left and right as opposed to up and down like you used to. But, you know, newsstand transferred okay, and also doesn't appear in the app switcher, which is interesting. I don't know why it did originally, but it doesn't now. And, you know, it works okay, it's just, yeah. So, I'm not a huge fan of how they did it on the iPad. I'm not a huge fan of how they did it on the iPod or iPhone. I'm not a huge fan of iOS 7 in general, but on the iPad, I think they just kind of slacked a bit. But, yeah, so that's my video. Ended up kind of being a bit of a rant and ended up being a bit too long, but hey, what do you expect? It's iOS 7 and there's a lot to go over. Anyway, goodbye.